Silvano hadn't closed his eyes in 122 days. Not even once. His pupils were pinpoints of absolute terror. His body drenched in sweat that smelled like decay. Every muscle twitched with exhaustion, yet his brain refused to let him sleep. 4 straight months of consciousness. 4 months watching himself deteriorate, trapped in a waking nightmare he couldn't escape. The doctors monitoring him had never seen anything like it, because what was happening to Silvano shouldn't be medically possible. But here's what made everyone in that Italian hospital feel ice in their veins. Silvano knew exactly how this would end. He had watched his 2 sisters die this same way. Then his grandfather, all unable to sleep, all dead within months, and there was no cure. In March 1984, Silvano's wife noticed the first sign. Her husband, who used to fall asleep in minutes, suddenly couldn't sleep at all. Friends, what happened next reveals one of medicine's most terrifying mysteries. Within weeks, Silvano began sweating profusely at all hours. His pupils constricted to pinpoints, then dilated unnaturally wide. He would stand motionless, staring at nothing, trapped in a waking nightmare between consciousness and oblivion. By the second month, Silvano could no longer recognize his own children. His mind was deteriorating rapidly, yet he remained horrifyingly aware that something was destroying him from the inside. He would flail his arms wildly, acting out bizarre pantomimes, putting on an invisible coat, raising an imaginary glass to his lips, conducting conversations with people who weren't there. His family could only watch as he slowly vanished before their eyes. The most disturbing part? Silvano was experiencing all of this while completely conscious. His brain was eating itself alive, one sleepless night at a time. Now, before we go further into Silvano's terrifying final days, let me tell you what was actually happening inside his brain. Because friends, what you're about to learn will make you appreciate every single night of sleep you get. The disease that killed Silvano is called fatal familial insomnia, or FFI. And the word fatal isn't just dramatic naming, it literally means death is guaranteed. There is no cure, there is no treatment. Once symptoms begin, you have approximately 18 months to live. And during those months, you will experience a level of suffering that medical science struggles to even describe. Here's how it works. Deep inside your brain, there's a small structure called the thalamus. Think of it as your brain's relay station. It processes all sensory information. And, most importantly, it controls your sleep-wake cycle. Now, in patients with FFI, a specific type of protein in the brain starts to misfold. These misfolded proteins are called prions, and they're more terrifying than any virus or bacteria. Why? Because prions can't be killed. They're not alive to begin with. They're just proteins that have folded incorrectly, and they have the ability to make other healthy proteins misfold too. It's like a biological zombie infection happening at the molecular level. These mutant prions specifically attack the thalamus, creating microscopic holes throughout the tissue. Under a microscope, the thalamus of an FFI victim looks like Swiss cheese, and as those holes multiply, the thalamus loses its ability to regulate sleep. But here's what makes FFI truly nightmarish. Your body desperately wants to sleep. Every cell is screaming for rest. But the damaged thalamus simply can't initiate the sleep cycle anymore. It's like your brain's sleep switch has been permanently broken. In the first stage, which lasts about 4 months, victims develop chronic insomnia and panic attacks. They might still catch brief microsleep episodes lasting a few seconds, but never true restorative sleep. During the second stage, the hallucinations begin. Patients see things that aren't there, hear voices in empty rooms, and experience what doctors call enacted dreams. They physically act out elaborate scenarios while fully awake. One patient, an elderly woman, spent hours every day serving tea to invisible guests, maintaining perfect social etiquette with people only she could see. The third stage is where things become truly horrific. Weight loss accelerates dramatically despite normal eating. the body begins to shut down. Patients lose the ability to speak coherently, and their movements become erratic and uncoordinated. But the cruelest aspect? Their minds often remain partially aware. They know they're dying. They know they're losing control. They just can't do anything to stop it. The final stage is complete loss of speech, total inability to sleep, even for microseconds, and progressive dementia. Death typically occurs 6 to 36 months after the first symptom appears, though the average survival time is just 18 months. Now, you might be wondering, how rare is this disease? Extremely rare, thankfully. FFI has been identified in only about 70 families worldwide. That's right, this nightmare disease runs in families because it's genetic. If you inherit the mutated gene from even one parent, you have a 50% chance of developing the disease. And if you have the mutation, there's a 100% chance you will develop FFI at some point, usually between ages 30 and 60. No exceptions, no survivors, but here's where the story gets even more disturbing, friends. There's actually another form of this disease called sporadic fatal insomnia, or SFI. This version isn't inherited, it just appears randomly, for reasons science doesn't fully understand. In 2001, a 52-year-old American man developed SFI with no family history of the disease. Within a year, he was dead. The spontaneous emergence of fatal insomnia means that theoretically, anyone, anywhere, could develop this condition without warning. Sleep tight, right? Let me take you back to 1765 in Venice, Italy. That's when the curse began. A doctor in Venice died under mysterious circumstances after months of being unable to sleep. His family didn't understand what had killed him, but over the following decades, more family members started dying the same way. By the 1940s, the family had documented dozens of deaths, all following the identical pattern. Insomnia, hallucinations, deterioration, death. They called it the family curse, believing they were victims of some ancient hex. It wasn't until 1983 that an Italian neurologist named Ignazio Reuter finally identified the true cause. He had been treating Silvano, and when Silvano's condition continued to worsen, Reuter did something unprecedented. He asked the family for permission to study Silvano's brain after death. When Silvano finally died in 1984, the autopsy revealed the shocking truth. His thalamus had been destroyed by prion proteins. This wasn't a curse, it was a genetic disease that had been silently murdering family members for over 200 years. What makes prion diseases so uniquely terrifying is that they can't be treated with conventional medicine. Antibiotics kill bacteria. Antivirals attack viruses. But prions? They're just misfolded proteins. They don't have DNA. They don't metabolize. They just exist and corrupt other proteins around them. Attempts to use sleeping pills on FFI patients are not only useless, but often make things worse. In 1991, a 27-year-old man with FFI was given every sleep medication available. Barbiturates, benzodiazepines, sedatives. Nothing worked. His brain scans showed that even when his body appeared to be resting, his brain remained in a state of permanent wakefulness. It was as if his consciousness had been locked in the on position, with the key thrown away. In 2006, an American patient named Daniel decided to try an experimental treatment. He underwent a medically induced coma, with doctors hoping to force his brain into a sleep-like state. The results were devastating. While under anesthesia, his brain showed no normal sleep patterns whatsoever. Even in a coma, his thalamus couldn't generate the electrical signatures of sleep. When Daniel was brought out of the coma after several weeks, his condition had actually worsened. He died less than 3 months later. The experiment proved something horrifying. By the time FFI symptoms appear, the damage is already irreversible. Now, there's one case that still haunts sleep researchers today. In 2013, a young Vietnamese man named Thai Ngoc claimed that he hadn't slept for over 40 years after a fever in 1973. If true, this would make him a medical impossibility. However, when sleep specialists studied his case, they discovered something fascinating. While Thai insisted he never slept, sleep studies showed he was actually experiencing microsleep episodes, brief moments lasting 1 to 30 seconds, where his brain would shut down and restart. He just wasn't aware of them. This raised a disturbing question. Could FFI patients also be getting microsleep? But their damaged thalamus makes these episodes so brief and fragmented that they provide no actual rest. It would mean they're experiencing the torture of perpetual consciousness, while their body desperately tries and fails to achieve restorative sleep. The genetics of FFI are equally fascinating and terrifying. The disease is caused by a mutation in the PRNP gene located on chromosome 20. Specifically, it's a mutation at codon 178, where the amino acid aspartic acid is replaced by asparagine. But here's the kicker. That same mutation, depending on another genetic factor, can cause a completely different prion disease, called Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. It's the same mutation, but whether you get fatal insomnia or CJD depends on the presence of another amino acid at position 129. Your genetic code literally plays Russian roulette with your life, and you won't know which disease you'll get until symptoms appear. In 2001, researchers made a breakthrough discovery that sent shockwaves through the medical community. They found that in FFI patients, the thalamus shows selective vulnerability. Not all neurons die, only specific types. The neurons that control sleep are decimated, but other nearby neurons remain relatively intact. This explains why patients can still see, hear, and remain conscious even as they lose the ability to sleep. It's like watching your house burn down room by room while you're trapped inside, fully aware of every flame. Let me tell you about the case that changed everything. In 2001, a 40-year-old Italian man named Amerigo began experiencing mild insomnia. Within 3 months, he couldn't sleep at all. His wife, a physician, knew immediately what was happening. FFI ran in Amerigo's family. But here's what makes his case unique. Amerigo was an accomplished writer, and he documented his own decline in a journal. His entries became progressively more chaotic and terrifying. In the beginning, he wrote eloquent paragraphs about his fear and frustration. By month 4, his entries were just disconnected words: tired, scared, alone, why? By month 6, he could barely hold a pen. His final entry was a simple line: the night that never ends. He died 2 weeks later. Researchers have tried everything to understand and combat FFI. In 2009, a team of scientists attempted to use immunotherapy to target the prion proteins. The theory was sound. If they could train the immune system to recognize and destroy the misfolded prions, they could potentially halt the disease.